In today's notes, we are going to learn about standard form. The learning target that this covers is I can graph an equation of a line in slope-intercept form, point-slope form, or standard form. So notice that we've already discussed slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. We've already discussed point-slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. Now our third form is standard form. It's ax plus by equals c. The letters a, b, and c are just numbers. So they're coefficients or constants in the problem. We really want to pay attention to the x and the y. Standard form is used to graph the x and y intercept. So we need to recall that the x-intercept is when y equals 0. So it's going to be x comma y. So for every single x-intercept, the y will be 0. And for the y-intercept, it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be the x that is equal to 0. So then it's 0 comma y, where x is always equal to 0. Because think about the graph that you draw. Anywhere on this y-axis, you are not moving left or right, so that is why the x is 0. Here, anywhere on the x-axis, your y is always going to be 0 because you're not moving up or down any. So, how we do example 2. And please note, I know we are covering example 2 at this moment. We will cover example 1 at a later date. So, it says, what is the graph of 3x minus 2y equals 9? The first step is to find the x-intercept. Now, if you look at the notes above, it says y is going to be 0. So we are going to substitute in 0 for y. So we have this equation, 3x minus 2y equals 9, and we are going to put that 0 in for y. And that's always going to be the case, because we are not going up or down for the x-intercept. Now the nice thing here, negative 2 times 0 is 0, so it goes away. So then we're left with 3x equals 9. It's a one-step equation, so we're going to divide by 3. So then we have x equals 3. Now remember that this is an ordered pair. We already said that our y value is 0, so it's always x comma y. We just found our x to be 3 and our y to be 0. Now I'm going to plot that point right away. So I'm going to go 3 to the right and up and down none. So that's the x-intercept. We're done. Now for the y-intercept, which is our step 2, if you look back on the top of our notes, it says that our x equals 0. Our x equals 0 because we're not going left or right any on the y-intercept. So then it's going to be x equals 0. And this is the part where you want to be careful. You want to go back to the original equation. The original equation was 3x minus 2y equals 9. Now, instead of putting in for y, now we know that our x is 0. So I'm going to substitute it in to the x location. Now if you look here, 3 times 0 is 0. So that goes away. Drop down the negative, 2y equals 9, and then divide by negative 2. And it's okay if you get a decimal. Since we're not talking about slope or anything, you want to put it as a decimal because we're going to be graphing it. Now the y-intercept, you want to remember, is an ordered pair. So we're going to do x comma y. We already decided that x is 0 because it's the intercept. And then we just found our y, which is negative 4.5. So then we're going to go down 4.5 spots. And then you're going to connect the 2 points and draw your line and your arrows. All right, I would like you to pause this video and complete the try it. Sketch the graph of 4x plus 5y equals 10. All right, so let's check your answer. Remember, step 1 is to find the x-intercept. So we are going to let y equal 0. So I like to rewrite the equation. So I'm going to write the 4x plus 5, but instead of y, I'm going to write 0 equals 10. 5 times 0 goes away. So then we're left with a 1 step. We're going to divide by 4 on both sides. So divide by 4, x equals 2.5. Now remember, we want it as an ordered pair. Ordered pair is always xy. We just found our x value to be 2.5 and then comma 0. I like to graph it as soon as I find it. So 2.5 comma 0 is right between 2 and 3 on the x-intercept or on the x-axis. Notice that my y value is 0 because that's what I told you it would be. Now for the y-intercept, we start back at the equation 4x plus 5y equals 10. But now we're going to substitute 0 into x. So 4 parentheses 0 plus 5y equals 10. 4 times 0 goes away. So we are left with 5y equals 10. So we're going to divide by 5 on both sides. And y equals 2. Go back to that ordered pair, x comma y. This time I said x was 0. So we're going to put 0 in for our x value, and we found our y to be 2. So I'm going to plot my y on my y-axis, and then I'm going to connect the 2 points, draw my line all the way through with arrows on the end. So that's all you do for standard form. Standard form is just for the x and y intercepts. Now there's special cases to this. Horizontal lines and vertical lines. So horizontal lines are lines that go left to right. That is an equation that is y equals a number. So there's no x value. Here, your slope is going to be 0 because there's no change in the y. Your vertical lines, on the other hand, go in the other direction. They go vertical. They go up and down. Now this is very odd because you've never seen an equation so far that is an x equals a number. It's also odd because the slope is undefined. Undefined means that there's no change in your x's. So you're not going to go left or right any for this line. You're just going up and down. Now let's see what this looks like in terms of standard form. So I mentioned before that the A, the B, and the C are just numbers. So to produce these special cases, the horizontal and the vertical line, one of those letters, A or B, needs to be 0. So for example, if we have this equation, AX plus 2y equals 6, and we say A is going to be 0, that looks really funny to write 0x. I've been telling you all year that we don't write it because 0 times anything goes away. So then 2 times anything is 0. We don't need to write it. So that's how they got this equation right here, 2y equals 6. So the x's go away. Now we just have the y value. Now we need to solve for y, so we need to divide by 2. And now we have y equals 3. Just like I mentioned here for the horizontal line. It's going to be y equals a number. So we have this y-axis and we have this x. We need to find where y is always 3. We know that the y-intercept is going to be 0, 3. But here's the thing. That is just a point. They said we have to graph a line. A line is 2 or more points. So how do we get that? Well, the beautiful thing about a line is that it's made up of an infinite amount of points. We need to find where y is 3. Y is always 3 horizontally. So, for example, that point was 0, 3. The point right next to it is 1, 3. Point next to that is 2, 3. If you keep plotting those points, that is what creates a horizontal line. You can even go into the negative integers. Negative 2, 3. Everything that this horizontal line has in common is the y value of 3. Notice that's our equation of the line, y equals 3. So whenever you have y equals a number, it's a horizontal line. It goes left to right forever. Even if you want to go to 2,500, 3, it works. Now on the flip side, example 3, it says, what does the graph of ax plus b equals c look like when b is 0? So if we make b equal to 0, that wipes out the y in this case. So then we have to solve for x. X is going to be negative 2. Well, if you look up here, we know that it's going to be a vertical line because it's just x. The y's went away, or the y went away. So once again, I'm going to draw my x and y axis. And then I'm going to find on the graph where x equals negative 2. But they got us. It says graph the linear equation. Linear equation means a line. We just have a point. So where else on this graph is x equal negative 2? I can go up that's negative 2 comma 1, I can go down. That's negative 2 comma negative 1. And the first point that we plotted was negative 2 comma 0. Notice what they have in common. Negative 2, negative 2, negative 2. Every single point that's on top of each other is going to have the same x value. That's why it's creating a vertical line. Now I would like you to do the try-its for example 3. Remember to solve for the variable. So here we're going to divide by 3. Y equals negative 6. So we want to find on our line where y is negative 6. So we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plot a point. Where else are y's negative 6? To the left is negative 6, because it's really negative 1, negative 6. And to the right, because that's 1, negative 6. So every point to the left and right will have the same y value. That's why it forms a horizontal line. And now we're going to divide by 4 on both sides here. We have x equals 3. So we need to find where x is 3. X equals 3 on the x-intercept. So we know that's 3 comma 0. Now once again, it says graph. Graph the equation. Equation needs to be a line in this case. Right now we just have a point. So if we go 2 spaces up, 3 comma 2, notice that my x's are still the same. Now let's see if I go down 2 and I do 3, negative 2. My x is still 3. What that is doing is creating a vertical line. So what the notes covered today was graphing from standard form. When you graph from standard form, it is very important for you to find the x and y intercept. That is how you graph from this line. So you're only going to have 2 plotted points, even though the line is made up of infinite many, but we're going to be looking at the points for the x and the y intercepts. And then we learned about the special cases, the horizontal and vertical lines. Horizontal goes from left to right, and you're always going to be left with y equals a number. That's going to be the equation. And then your vertical line is going to be your up and down line when x equals a number.